You're too sick to handle money anyway, Amanda said with a smirk, waving some signed papers in front of me. Dad agrees that the pension fund should go to someone more capable. I lay in my hospital bed, still weak from surgery, watching my sister-in-law gloat about taking my mother's money. My name is Julia Parker. At 35, I wasn't just fighting cancer, I was fighting my own family's betrayal. Nothing to say, Amanda mocked, swinging her expensive purse. She probably bought it with money borrowed from my father. Finally speechless. That's a first. I gave her a small smile, which unsettled her more than any argument would have. Thanks for letting me know, I said, my voice quiet but steady. What Amanda didn't know was that my mother had been smarter than anyone realized. Before she passed away, she made sure her pension fund was protected. Jules, she told me once, I see how Amanda manipulates your brother. Promise me you'll talk to Mr. Wilson. Mr. Wilson had been my mother's trusted friend for 30 years. After her funeral, he showed me the real documents, the ones that kept the fund safe. The papers Amanda held, they were worthless. I watched her leave my hospital room, probably already planning how to spend money she would never get. My phone buzzed. A text from Mr. Wilson. Amanda just tried to access the account. Everything worked exactly as your mother planned. Call me when you feel stronger. I wasn't happy about the money. I was happy to protect what my mother built. She spent 30 years as a teacher, saving every penny for her children's future. But when my brother Mark married Amanda, everything changed. Amanda came into our lives 5 years ago, full of charm and big promises. Mark fell for her instantly, but Mom saw the truth. Watch how she treats waiters, Mom once said. Watch how she talks about money that isn't hers. She was right. A year after the wedding, Amanda convinced Mark to quit his job to follow his dreams that always needed my father's money. When Mom passed away, Dad was too heartbroken to see what was happening. Amanda played the perfect daughter-in-law, telling him, your wife would want us to be happy, while taking advantage of his grief. The day I was diagnosed, Amanda stopped pretending. She started visiting Dad more, acting concerned about me. Julia has enough stress, I heard her say once. She shouldn't have to worry about finances. Mark and I can take care of everything. I let her think she was winning. I knew Mom had already outsmarted her. The pension fund was locked in a trust, with rules Amanda's fake papers couldn't break. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Mr. Wilson. Should I tell her now or let her figure it out when the transfer fails? I smiled. Let her figure it out, I typed. She needs to learn the hard way. Through my hospital window, I saw Amanda getting into her car, probably rushing to the bank. She would walk in, thinking she had won, only to realize she had nothing. The trust needed 3 signatures, mine, the trustees, and a financial advisor's. It also required proof from 2 doctors that I couldn't handle my finances. Mom had planned for everything. I closed my eyes, feeling the warm sunlight on my face. My battle with cancer wasn't over, but at least I knew Mom's legacy was safe. Amanda's lies were about to be exposed, and I had the best seat in the house. My nurse walked in and saw my small smile. Good news, she asked. Just justice, I said. Sometimes it comes in unexpected ways. I thought of Mom's last words again. Promise me you'll talk to Mr. Wilson. She had known this day would come. She had protected me, even after she was gone. 3 hours after Amanda left my hospital room, my phone rang. Mr. Wilson's name appeared on the screen, and I could already guess what had happened at the bank. Julia, he said, his voice full of amusement. I thought you'd like to hear this. I adjusted my hospital bed and sat up. Tell me everything. Your sister-in-law stormed into the bank like she owned the place. She was sure your father's signature was enough. You should have seen her face when the manager told her the documents weren't valid. I could picture it, Amanda tapping her nails on the counter, her confident smile fading as she realized she had no control. The best part, Mr. Wilson continued. She demanded to speak to me. When I explained the trust's rules, she went pale. Mom's plan had worked perfectly. The trust wasn't just locked. It had a clause that triggered a full review of all family finances if anyone tried fraud. That meant every loan Amanda convinced my father to give, every fake investment from Mark's failed businesses would now be investigated. She's heading to your father's house now, Mr. Wilson warned. She'll try to fix this somehow. Right on cue, my phone buzzed with texts from Mark. What did you do? Amanda's crying. Why are you making things so difficult? I hadn't done anything. Mom had already handled it. Instead of Amanda or Mark, my next visitor was my father. He looked exhausted, older than before. The bank called, he said, sitting down. They're launching an audit. Something about fraud. I met his gaze. Did Amanda tell you what she did today? He shifted uncomfortably. She said she was trying to help. That handling Mom's money would be too much for you during treatment. Dad, I said gently, she brought me forged papers and gloated about taking Mom's money. Is that really helping? Silence filled the room. I could see him putting the pieces together, realizing how many times Amanda had used him, how much money she had taken. Your mother, he whispered, emotion thick in his voice. She knew this would happen, didn't she? That's why she set up the trust. I nodded. Mom wanted to protect us, all of us. He reached for my hand. I've been a fool, haven't I? Before I could answer, Amanda burst into the room, furious. You think you're so clever, she spat. Setting traps, turning everyone against me. I didn't set up anything, I said calmly. Mom did. She knew exactly who you were. Amanda, my father's voice was different now, firm, steady. It's time for you to leave. She turned to argue, but something in his face stopped her. Her mask of fake concern finally broke. Fine, she snapped. Keep your precious pension fund. But Mark and I still need your help with our business. You promised? No, Dad interrupted. No more promises. No more money. The bank is auditing everything, Amanda. Everything. Her face turned pale. Without another word, she stormed out, nearly bumping into Mr. Wilson at the door. Perfect timing, he said, watching her leave. I brought the audit paperwork. We've already found some interesting transactions. For the next hour, we went through the documents. My father's expression grew darker with each discovery. Amanda and Mark had taken over $200,000 in the past year, money wasted on fake businesses and failed ideas. I'll have to sell the beach house to cover this, Dad murmured. No, you won't, I reassured him. That's what Mom's pension fund was for, to protect us, not to fund Amanda's schemes. Mr. Wilson nodded. Your mother was a remarkable woman, Julia. She planned for everything. As they left, I saw my father standing taller, like a weight had been lifted. The truth had hurt, but it had also set him free. My phone buzzed again, this time from Mark. Amanda's leaving me, says this family is toxic. What am I supposed to do now? I stared at the message, thinking of Mom's wisdom. Finally, I replied, Come home, Mark. It's time to rebuild, the right way this time. Outside my window, the sun was setting, casting golden light across the hospital room. Tomorrow would bring more challenges, more treatment, more family struggles. But for now, I felt at peace. Mom's legacy was safe, and her final lesson, about love, trust, and protection, had finally been learned. 6 months after that day in the hospital, I sat in Mr. Wilson's office, looking over the final audit. My cancer treatment had worked, and honestly, watching Amanda's plans fall apart had been the best therapy of all. The total amount your father can get back is about $180,000, Mr. Wilson said, sliding a paper toward me. Amanda has to pay it all back, with interest. I ran my finger over the numbers. Every charge told a story: expensive clothes, fake business expenses, even a luxury car Amanda had leased in Dad's name. And Mark, I asked, thinking of my brother, who had been staying with Dad, slowly getting back on his feet. He's been helping us, Mr. Wilson said with a smile. He gave us everything we needed to prove how Amanda manipulated him. Turns out, she had a history of doing this to people before. Just then, Dad walked in. He looked younger, lighter, free. Did you tell her about the letters? He asked. Mr. Wilson nodded and handed me a small box. Your mother left these in case Amanda ever tried to take the pension fund. Inside were letters, each one addressed to a different family member. With shaking hands, I opened mine. My dearest Julia, if you're reading this, then everything I feared about Amanda has come true. But don't be angry, be grateful. Sometimes it takes a crisis to bring out the truth. Take care of your father and Mark. They'll need your strength now more than ever. The pension fund was never just about money. It was about protecting our family. All my love, Mom. Dad wiped his eyes as he read his own letter. She knew, he whispered. She warned me so many times, but I didn't listen. Over the months, Mark had changed. Without Amanda controlling him, he had gone back to his old job, starting from the bottom but working hard. At our Sunday dinner, he admitted, "Amanda's been calling. She says she's changed, wants to work things out." "And?" I asked. He smiled, a real, honest smile. "I told her to talk to my lawyer. Some bridges need to stay burned." Mom's pension fund stayed safe, just as she planned. Instead of wasting it on Amanda's schemes, we used it for something better. We started a scholarship in Mom's name at the high school where she had taught, helping students who, like her, had big dreams but little money. One day, I drove past Amanda's new apartment in a not-so-fancy part of town. She struggled to carry groceries, her expensive clothes replaced with something plain. For the first time, when our eyes met, I saw something in her I had never seen before: shame. I could have felt victorious, but Mom's letter had taught me better. Instead, I felt grateful. Grateful for a mother wise enough to see through lies, strong enough to protect us even after she was gone, and loving enough to turn pain into a lesson about family. Now, sitting in my home office, I keep Mom's letter framed on the wall. It reminds me that real family wealth isn't in money, but in wisdom, love, and the strength to protect each other. Every Sunday, Dad and Mark come over for dinner, a tradition we started after Amanda left. We cook, we laugh, and we remember Mom, not with sadness, but with gratitude. "You know what your mother would say about all this?" Dad asked last Sunday while drying the dishes. I smiled. "Probably something like, sometimes you have to lose something to realize what really matters." He nodded. "She'd be proud of you, Jules. Of all of us, really, we finally became the family she always knew we could be." As I watched the sunset, I thought about how life tests us, with illness, betrayal, and loss. But I also thought about the hidden gifts in those struggles, the strength we find, the wisdom we gain, and the love that brings us home. Mom's pension fund was safe, but her real legacy, it was in Sunday dinners and healed relationships and in the lesson she left us. Protect what matters most, each other.